Peace be upon you. Science doesn't explain everything. This is called the science delusion. Now, I'm not opting for a subjective truth. There is an objective truth, but it's limited. Our understanding of reality is limited. So there's a book by a guy called Rupert Sheldrake. He explains that there are 10 dogmas that he highlights, which doesn't explain away the problems in reality. So he attacks specifically the constants of nature because they are, as science would define it, constants. So, for example, there's this explanation of gravity, and it's the gravitational constant, big G, they call it. Force equals to big G, m times m2 divided by r squared. This explains the interaction of gravitational forces in nature. Now, why is this relevant? Well, he found that actually big G was standardized. It's not something that we measure. It's just a number that we decide to be a constant. It's the same with the speed of light. In 1920 something up to 1940, people were measuring different values for the speed of light. Yet, the speed of light, as you might imagine, today is an unchanged figure. Now, the reality of the matter is that you could measure the speed of light, albeit it's very tricky. And this figure could be different to what the prescribed figure of the speed of light is. But that's how constants work. They're not measuring reality. They're not addressing the substrate of what we're saying as truth. Instead, they're just saying this is fact. So how do they address this variation in the speed of light or the gravitational constant? Well, what they did was they defined it. So they fixed it by definition. They didn't fudge the numbers. They called it intellectual phase locking, which is the same as saying, we smart people fudged it for you so you didn't have to. But the point is this. A lot of what you believe to be true in life, everything in fact, is limited by the understanding or the belief in that system. For example, people will say math is the highest caliber of truth. It's the ultimate form of science. Gödel proved, this is a mathematical proof, that math is one, inconsistent, and there are true statements that are unprovable. This means that we have certain figures in life that we know to be true, but it's simply impossible to prove to be true. Whenever I get notifications, the videos cancel. So, going back to the point, these constants are not really constant. For example, the gravitational constant did shift over time. How do we know that there wasn't an explosion in some faraway universe and it destroyed or it shifted the gravitational constant in some way? Maybe, stretched or condensed space in some way. And that made the constant shift ever so slightly. So the problem with science is that it is unwilling to interrogate itself. It believes it sits on a pile of truth, that it is unchallenged, that it is the purported absolute truth. Now, that's fine for you to believe that you are correct, that a foundation is pristine and protected, as long as you note that it is a form of belief. And going back to what Gödel proved that mathematics, by definition, is inconsistent. It cannot prove itself. And if it tried to prove itself, it would always have this recursive logic that would fail, and eventually it would just collapse. It would need to take more and more systems outside of itself to prove itself, thereby increasing the number of complexity and effectively contradictions that it could raise. Now, why am I talking about the science delusion? The reason I'm talking about it is that people need a narrow slipstream in belief, one where they're questioning reality and they go too far, right? They start saying things like, the earth is flat. This entire world is a simulation. Though there are merits to that idea, it's not based in reality. The people that shoot off satellite into the orbit or measure the age of the universe for any number of things that you have, watching this video on this phone, broadcasting, telecommunication, any number of technology we have is still trying to decipher the physics within this quote unquote simulated reality. So you're still bound by some rules. Whether you are in a simulated reality or reality itself, to you, it makes no difference. You're still stuck here. And you still have to figure out how to get the next paycheck or the next A, B, C, D, it doesn't matter. And then the other person that goes to the other extreme and says, I am sitting on a pile of absolute truth, whereby I have decided absolutely that science is the veritable truth and I don't need God, for example, right? And this is also taking it into the extreme, because if we refer to the calculation of the improbability of the Big Bang, this is in 10 to the 10 to the 123. It's actually an exponent. So it's the natural log e to the 10 to the 123. That's a big, big number. It's so big that you could make every atom in the universe, they called it baryons. Baryons are the combination of neutrons and protons. Every atom in the universe, make them into separate universes and count that again, and you still wouldn't be anywhere near this insane figure. And this insane figure comes from the fact that entropy had to decrease. Entropy is a form of disorder, a measure of disorder. Think of it in a manner that you prescribe speech. As I'm speaking now, as much as it might not make sense, I'm choosing my words very carefully and I'm presenting it in a specific order. Had I just garbled some words, it wouldn't make sense to anybody. It's the same with reality. If you don't clean your room over time, it's going to get messy. If the universe doesn't get tidied up, doesn't get revised, protected, guided, and so on, it couldn't even be a universe. It couldn't even have the second laws of thermodynamics, of which entropy is being discussed. Now, this precision, as they describe, has three reasons as to why the universe is so finely tuned. And reason number one is it's a necessity. We must exist. Therefore, the universe must exist. It doesn't matter that it's highly improbable. We just have to exist. Reason number two is just statistics. You do this enough times, infinite number of times, eventually one of them will create the universe we're in. Well, there's no reason for that to be either. And third, intelligent design. Intelligent design, by and large, is the most logical conclusion. If you're happy to delegate your reality and belief system into the fact that, oh, there could be aliens, super intelligent creatures that are just messing with us, or created a whole simulation of worlds to test us out, or maybe we're just competing simulation for the ultimate simulation to then compete with another simulation, creating the highest form of victory, kind of like a competition match in how they train AIs. Still, it's an intelligent design. And so you're back to square one. I can't veer off too far and say I know nothing. The world is flat, everything is a lie. And I can't go to the other side and say everything is true. My belief system is entirely justified and my rock is solid. You gotta find a path in between, which is that you have to internally critique your belief system, right? If you're a traditional Muslim, you should question, why is it that nearly every hadith that I refer to goes against the Quran? Nearly every single one, right? It creates a dogma that is unvirtuous, unrighteous, and non-value adding. If you're a Christian, same thing. Why is it that when I read the Bible, the overwhelming majority of the Gospels, James, Luke, Mark, and so on, is purporting the idea that you should believe in God alone, right? I and my Father are one. As I hear, I judge. I seek not my will, but the will of my Father. And so God is absolute in this quest. And the ultimate gain is that you understand that this is just a test. This is all illusory. This is temporary. And every definition prescribed to you, purporting itself to be the absolute truth, is one of many, one of several that could be wrong. So your mission is to interrogate the system you currently reside in, right? And understand that once you've done that enough times and you've registered on a particular path, and this is the path of, I would call it maximum resistance, or the path of most clarity, understand that you chose to be here. And that's fundamental. It's not because you were just perfect and everything was right. It's because you had to make internally a choice to be truthful and righteous. And that if God chose to guide you, you would be so lucky, right? Peace be upon you.